Last month, a bit of controversy broke out in a niche part of the gaming world. A Hat in Time, a super cute indie 3D platformer originally released in 2016, released its second DLC, Yakuza Metro. Thanks to a YouTuber, it was discovered the developers had hidden a delightful little Easter egg, a trans rights flag graffitied on a wall. Some fans were not happy. But you know what's the most insulting thing about all of this? Yakuza Metro's only on f***ing PC. Why don't you love us? Honestly, I'm a little shocked people were so bent out of shape about the Hat in Time trans flag. Like, hello, one of the main characters is a girl with a mustache. And a fantastic one at that. But the whole thing kinda got me thinking about the weird reactions to progressive representation in video games and Pride Month itself.
My mother made it for me.
I'll be honest, representation in video games in general is not great. Most protagonists are still male, even in the most recently critically acclaimed games. Women characters are still largely objectified. Like, seriously, what the fuck, Final Fantasy 15? Why does she have to look like this? And why is everyone so white? But it's ever so slightly getting better. Indie hits like Infinite Falls, A Night in the Woods, and the Game Grumps' Dream Daddy are placing queer representation at the center of their games, and AAA studios Square Enix and Naughty Dog made waves recently with the inclusion of gay characters who are main characters? One does wonder why the main developments about said character's sexuality take place primarily in optional DLC, but this is just one of the many reasons I'm dying for The Last of Us Part 2 to finally come out, because Ellie is the main playable character. So this video is less a comprehensive history of representation in video games and more of a, here's a great example of a relatively recent game that did a really good job with LGBTQIA representation. Shovel Knight. For those who don't know about Shovel Knight, it is a retro-inspired indie game and super successful Kickstarter that is basically a love letter to the 8-bit era of gaming. People love everything from its fucking banger of a soundtrack to its super tight platforming and endless charm. Dance for me! Oh, those raptors are so cute! Yo, Tinker Knight, you'll never defeat me. That was easy. What? But the reason I want to talk about it is its body swap feature. Basically, Yacht Club Games, the makers of Shovel Knight, realized that their game had one more thing in common with the 80s era they had so lovingly replicated. It's a sausage party, or at least it was going to be. Body swap notably gives the player the ability to independently assign pronouns and body types. So every character could be female, or present as male with a female pronoun, or just mix and match willy-nilly as you please. Down below, I've linked Yacht Club Games' blog post on the process of designing and creating every character's body swap. They established really rigorous rules about not changing body size and not simply adding pink bows, like a certain yellow partial circle I know. Miss Pac-Man actually brings me to why I think it's so important Shovel Knight is an 8-bit retro style. While gaming in the 80s and 90s was groundbreaking with its technology, its storytelling, its gameplay, its representation of female characters was not. Mega Man, which Shovel Knight is highly inspired by, didn't feature a female robot master until Mega Man 9, released in 2008, you know, after the series was dead as a doornail for over a decade. I mean, Jesus, we got Dustman and f***ing Cloudman before Capcom was like, you know, they only make up half the population, so it might be risky, but maybe Ladybot? And Capcom hasn't included another one since. You can cast Epic Voice Guy as Torchman, but you can't have another female robot master? Christ, Capcom! Everywhere you look, it's boy saves girl, man saves princess. Nearly all the protagonists are dudes. Now, of course, there's one particularly notable exception. Samus Aran from Metroid. Famously revealed to be a woman at the end of her game, Samus was like a lone marcher of the Parade to Progress. I mean, until all of her clothes were removed if you finished the game fast enough. 2 steps forward, 1 gigantic step back. I mean, it was such a huge deal, Punktendo recently recreated the original NES Metroid with Against Me lead singer Laura Jane Grace, a trans woman herself. which sucks because, side note, the original Metroid sucks. It's garbage. Where am I supposed to go? Why can't I have a map? Why can't my health fully replenish when I die? Why must it beep to remind me I suck at this game? How the did this spawn a franchise? Anyway, my point here is, excluding a few outliers, video games tend to reinforce what poet and feminist Adrienne Rich called compulsory heterosexuality. According to Rich, society encourages and reinforces the idea that heterosexuality is the norm, including everything from rom-coms and TV shows to family expectations, like, oh, he'll be a ladies' man. So when nearly every video game features a male protagonist rescuing or avenging a female character, I wonder why everyone's so shocked gamers can be super sexist and transphobic. That's what makes Shovel Knight so wonderful. Body Swap enables players to craft the game much more representative of their lived experience with absolutely no change to the plot or gameplay. All it is a small pushback against the ridiculous idea that men are only attracted to women and that folks with manly bodies can't use female pronouns. Fellow Ohioan Judith Butler famously expanded upon Rich's concept in her groundbreaking and phenomenal work, Gender Trouble, arguing gender norms are also reinforced by society. The characteristics associated with men and women are not natural. Nothing about our biologies make men cry less and women more likely to shop. These are stupid things created by society, but as Butler notes, the punishment for not following these strict gender rules is sharp. It's why the rates of sexual violence, homelessness, and suicide are all extremely high for trans folks. It is estimated 50% of trans people experience sexual violence at some point in their lifetime. 1 in 5 experience homelessness, and the danger is even greater for trans people of color. Since 2013, the HRC Foundation has been tracking the deaths of transgender people. Of the 128 documented deaths, Black trans women make up 69% of all known victims. All of these problems stand to be exacerbated under the Department of Housing and Urban Development's new proposal released in March, which would allow homeless facilities to turn away trans folks based on their biological sex. We are all running on the treadmill of gender, even those who identify as the gender we were assigned at birth. And all too often for those who bravely challenge or defy those norms. Butler writes, the construction of gender compels our belief in its necessity and naturalness. Simply, the rewards or punishment we receive for adhering to or defying gender norms reinforces the idea that we should even have them in the first place. Again, this is why Shovel Knight is so important. Like Metroid, except infinitely more playable, it quietly argues the protagonist doesn't have to be a hetero cisgender dude to still reach billions of players. This kind of representation and diversity is the only way we'll eventually get past gamers flipping out that the new Animal Crossing will allow you to choose your skin color and gender. This is why I drink. Currently, Yacht Club Games is working on its third spin-off campaign to Shovel Knight called King of Cards. It and the multiplayer fighting game called Showdown were recently delayed, and my hope is Yacht Club Games is adding Body Swap to both. The previous 2 additional campaigns, Plague of Shadows and Spectre of Torment, are both incredible and unique in their own right, but lack Body Swap for their main playable characters. I would love for this final release to also give Body Swap to the additional DLC. It would also be amazing if they could include a they-them pronoun option for genderqueer players. I know it may be asking a lot, but I also have a 3DS that I will also gladly buy Treasure Trove on if that would help. My point is this. Representation matters. Not just for those with marginalized identities, but for those who've grown used to seeing versions of themselves in nearly every single video game. Things like the ridiculous straight pride and blowback over A Hat in Time come from a place of fear, a fear that our gender and sexual norms aren't real. To my fellow white hetero dudes, I say this. I know the inclusion of gay and trans characters can feel threatening because you've invested so much time and energy into being manly. And now people are coming into, or should I say coming out to, your space. Saying that masculinity doesn't have to look like this or femininity doesn't have to look like that, and that your identity isn't the only important one. But that's okay. You, my fellow hetero men, have gotten to play the hero for years. And you can still be the hero by supporting and defending and encouraging the inclusion of more queer characters. And finally, to all the queer gamers out there, keep on bravely being you. You are unique, wanted, and needed in the gaming world. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Maybe we missed a game that has better representation in it. Also, we are doing similar stuff to this video. We're working on an analysis of Silent Hill, and we're also working on an analysis of Undertale. So if you want to see that, hit that subscribe button and that little notification button. Also, you can find us on social media. We post cute photos of our cat. Bye!